Let's jump right into it. Number 7. The lady who rewrote Roman Britain. In 1901, workers in York, England uncovered a Roman-era grave with an unusual occupant. Buried inside was a young woman with expensive jewelry, glass beads, and an ivory bracelet so finely carved it gave her a nickname, the Ivory Bangle Lady. For a long time, she was treated as just another elegant curiosity from Britain's Roman past, but modern science cracked her mystery wide open. Chemical analysis of her teeth showed she didn't grow up in Britain at all. Her diet pointed to a childhood in North Africa. Combined with her high-status grave goods, researchers concluded she was a wealthy African woman living in Roman York almost 2,000 years ago. That discovery rewrote the picture of Roman Britain. For years, people assumed the province was a cold, isolated backwater filled with pale farmers and soldiers. Instead, the Ivory Bangle Lady proves York was a cosmopolitan city on the edge of empire, a place where luxury goods, foreign travelers, and diverse cultures all collided. Her grave tells the story. Imported ivory, fine glassware, and personal ornaments were the Roman equivalent of luxury brands, status symbols that said she belonged to the elite. And here's the irony. For centuries, people thought Britain only became diverse in modern times. But the bones of one woman in York point to a different past. 2,000 years ago, Roman Britain was already multicultural, and one African woman in ivory bangles was living proof. Number 6. How did naval battles happen in the Colosseum? The Roman Colosseum is famous for gladiators, wild beasts, and emperors giving thumbs up or down, but ancient writers describe something even stranger. Naval battles staged right inside the arena. Entire ships supposedly clashed on water where lions usually roared. For centuries, historians argued, how could Romans possibly turn a stone stadium into an ocean? For a long time, people thought these stories were exaggerated, ancient hype to make emperors look grander. A landlocked Colosseum as a giant fish tank sounded impossible. But archaeologists digging under the arena found channels, pipes, and a drainage system that could move staggering amounts of water. Using sluice gates and aqueduct connections, engineers could divert water straight into the Colosseum floor, creating a shallow basin large enough for small-scale ships. Basically, the Romans invented the world's first water park, but with swords. Modern reconstructions show how it worked. Specially built flat-bottom boats staged mock sea battles, while hidden pumps and drains controlled the flow. Once the spectacle ended, workers pulled the plugs, and the arena drained like a massive bathtub. Within hours, the floor was ready for gladiators again. The logistics were insane. It took hundreds of workers, massive coordination, and engineering precision that still amazes modern architects. Ironically, one of Rome's bloodiest arenas also doubled as its biggest swimming pool. A reminder that for the emperors, nothing was too extreme to entertain the crowd. Number 5. Why did Egypt's lost city vanish underwater? For over 1,000 years, Thonis Heraklion was just a rumor in old texts, a glittering Egyptian port city no one could find. Some compared it to Atlantis, a legend that probably never existed. Then in 2000, divers searching off Egypt's coast hit the jackpot. An entire city sleeping beneath the waves. What they found was staggering. Temples still buried in silt, colossal statues of gods lying face down in the mud, and shipwrecks preserved like a fleet frozen in time. The city hadn't been a backwater. It was Egypt's gateway, the customs checkpoint for anyone entering by sea. In its prime, Heraklion was booming with trade, wealth, and worship. So how did it vanish? Scientists studying the seabed found that the ground beneath the city suddenly liquefied during an earthquake, a process called soil liquefaction. Imagine the earth suddenly turning into quicksand under your feet. Buildings, statues, even entire temples slid straight into the Mediterranean like it was riding an invisible water slide. For centuries, its story was written off as a myth, and its very existence was doubted. Then, piece by piece, divers raised colossal statues and shipwrecks, proving the legends were true. Ironically, the city that once controlled who entered Egypt was itself locked out of history, buried by the same water that made it powerful. Thonis Heraklion's greatest act wasn't living. It was vanishing so completely that rediscovery felt like a miracle. Number 4. The mystery of Roman coins in Japan. In 2016, archaeologists working near a Japanese castle made a discovery that didn't belong. Buried in the soil were Roman coins, stamped with emperors from a world thousands of miles away. Not Japanese money, not Chinese tokens. Actual Roman currency hidden in Okinawa. At first, scholars thought it had to be a mistake. Rome never reached Japan. The empire's borders stopped far to the west, separated by deserts, mountains, and oceans. So how could Roman pocket change end up in samurai country? Some suspected modern collectors dropped them, but testing confirmed they were genuine, minted in the 4th century AD. The answer points to trade. Roman coins traveled east through the Silk Road, passed hand to hand across Persia, India, and China, and eventually trickled into Japan. By the time they arrived, they weren't money anymore. They were souvenirs, curiosities valued for their exotic look. Think of them as the ancient version of foreign keychains you'd bring home from a trip abroad. And this isn't an isolated case. Roman coins have been found in India, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam, each one proof that the ancient world was far more connected than we imagine. Ideas, goods, and even pocket change could travel across continents without armies ever moving. Ironically, coins once used to buy bread in Roman markets lasted longer, buried in Japanese dirt than they ever did in circulation. What started as loose change ended up as buried treasure, a tiny reminder that the world was global long before we gave it that name. Number 3. Why ancient statues looked white for centuries. For generations, people walked through museums and saw Greek and Roman statues as flawless white marble. Art historians praised the pure beauty of the stone and assumed that was exactly how the ancients wanted them. The whole idea of classical art became tied to smooth white perfection. But modern science blew that myth apart. Researchers used ultraviolet light, lasers, and microscopes on ancient statues and found tiny pigment fragments clinging to the surface. Reds, blues, greens, even gold leaf, all hiding in plain sight. Those pristine marble gods were once painted in colors so bold they looked like comic book heroes. The Greeks and Romans didn't want subtlety. They painted muscle tone, skin color, jewelry, and even intricate tattoos onto their sculptures. One sphinx from 500 BC still shows traces of bold feathers in deep red and blue. These weren't statues. They were stone canvases turned into life-size avatars. The irony is that sunlight, rain, and centuries of cleaning stripped the paint away, leaving only bare marble. Later scholars looked at the ghosts of that paint and assumed white was the true classical aesthetic. Entire schools of art copied that mistake, praising a look the ancients never intended. So why did statues look white for centuries? Not because that was their design, but because time erased their paint. Ironically, our museums are filled with naked marble that fooled us into worshipping a style the ancients would have called unfinished. Number 2. How did Rome's cup change color? Among Rome's treasures, few objects look as strange as the Lycurgus cup. In normal light, it glows a shimmering green, but tilt it toward a flame or shine light through it, and the whole cup turns deep red. To anyone in the ancient world, it must have looked alive, like a goblet that could bleed on command. For centuries, people thought it was sorcery sealed inside glass. But when modern scientists examined it with electron microscopes, they discovered the secret. The glass was infused with nanoparticles of gold and silver, so tiny they bend light itself. Depending on the angle, the particles scatter light in different colors. In modern labs, the effect is called dichroism. In Roman times, it looked like magic. That means Roman artisans nearly 1,600 years ago were working at a level of technology we only rediscovered in the 20th century. Today, the same principle is used in things like advanced sensors and nanotech. Basically, the Lycurgus cup is the ancient equivalent of smart glass, a color-changing gadget at the emperor's dinner table. The imagery on the cup adds to the spectacle. King Lycurgus trapped in vines, punished by the god of wine, Dionysus. The design itself tells a myth, but the glass tells a bigger story. The Romans were experimenting with science that wouldn't be understood again until modern physics. So the Lycurgus cup wasn't just for wine. It was Rome showing off science centuries ahead of its time. Ironically, what emperors raised at banquets for entertainment is the same principle scientists now study in labs for medicine and tech. Number 1. Secrets of the Antikythera. When divers discovered a shipwreck off a tiny Greek island in 1901, they didn't expect to find history's most mysterious machine. Buried among statues and coins was a corroded bronze box that looked like sea junk. But when archaeologists pried it open, they found gears, dozens of them fused together. This wasn't a treasure, it was technology. For decades, the device baffled researchers. Then advanced X-rays revealed its true nature. The Antikythera mechanism was a mechanical computer built more than 2,000 years ago. By turning a crank, you could chart the cycles of the sun, moon, and planets. It predicted eclipses, tracked lunar phases, and even included a dial to count down to the Olympic Games. Think of it as the Swiss watch of the ancient world, but supersized and centuries ahead of its time. The precision of its gearwork was so advanced that nothing like it would appear again until medieval clockmakers, 1,000 years later. And here's the kicker. No other examples have ever been found. The knowledge to make it seems to have vanished with the shipwreck. Historians call it a technological orphan, proof that ancient inventors brushed up against modern engineering, then let it slip away. So what did the Antikythera mechanism really do? It turned the night sky into math you could hold in your hands. Ironically, the most sophisticated computer of the ancient world spent 2 millennia rusting at the bottom of the sea. That's all for now. Subscribe to see what's coming next, hit like, or start a comment debate. It all helps.